Hello, Brian here. Welcome to Galactic Spirit. It's been 2 weeks since our last UAP compilation video, and during that time, the volume of new clips coming through social media is overflowing, and I'm having difficulty keeping up. So it's time to take a look at the best clips that I think are the most significant, but also as a point of contrast, we're going to take a look at a couple of clips which I believe are fake. But overall, we've got multiple clips of fiery orbs, massive ships over the moon, sightings taken from airplanes, and most of these are recent. So let's dive in. So I've tried to group all of these video clips according to common themes. And in this first group, we have clips that have all been taken from airplanes, either by passengers or the pilots themselves. This first one is taken by a passenger, and it is a fleet of orbs or light ships. I'm not exactly sure what to call them, but it's quite impressive. Let's take a look. So it seems that this fleet of orbs just kind of materializes out of air and just suddenly appears. I don't know if that's just a reflection coming off of the window, but they just seem to kind of appear. See it again. They just kind of materialize right here. Is that just the light refracting off of the glass? They're there the whole time, but because of the angle of the camera, then they just suddenly appear. Interesting. And how could that be a reflection from the cabin of the plane? Why would there be so many light sources like that in the interior? But the timing is quite good with the person taking the video. As they started panning out the window before they were there. This next clip is also taken by an airplane passenger out the window, and it shows 3 orbs, light orbs in a formation, but they slightly or slowly move around and change positions. But then one orb suddenly accelerates downwards. It's pretty impressive. Let's take a look. Okay, so we want to keep our eyes on this screen over on the right side here. So we have 3 light orbs, light ships, whatever you want to call them, traveling in a formation, flying casually. We can see the window pane of the airplane right here. Now they're starting to shift formation. They're clearly flying together, but just kind of moving around. So keep your eye on this orb right here. I think this is the one that kind of accelerates. There it goes. And then the other 2 follow and disappear out of view. This next clip was taken by the pilot himself. At first, he shows his instrument panel, which shows that he's flying at 30,000 feet, which is approximately 9 kilometers up in the sky. So let's take a look. Okay, so here's the pilot. He sees something coming, probably on the radar, gets his phone ready, and then the object comes into view. It's dark, it's black maybe, and as it gets a little closer, we can kind of see that. Zooming in, we can kind of see that it looks like a cube or a block. Let's take another look. This clip is reminiscent of another famous clip that was taken by a pilot, I believe over South America, maybe Colombia. And it showed a UAP flying vertically on its side. And it was a really close-up shot, just like this one. One more time. Now, we've seen cubes in the past, but they were usually like tumbling or spinning. This isn't tumbling. This is in a fixed position. Fascinating. Okay, moving right along. We're now going to get into the theme of fleets. Fleets of orbs or crafts or ships, UAPs, whatever you want to call them. Let's get into it. Okay, Snowshoe, West Virginia, taken February 24th, as you can see.
That's crazy. Good eye.
Now, at first glance, I thought these were birds.
What the hell?
But wait a second. Let's back up a second. So they can't be birds because they stop in midair.
That's crazy.
Right there.
Good
They'll
eye.
stop.
No shit.
Then
What
shift
the
direction.
fuck?
What the hell?
And then accelerate at pretty high speed. Now they're shimmering, which looks like there could be wings flapping. Could they be a flock of birds?
What the hell?
Difficult to say. What do you think?
Whoa.
Okay, this next clip is actually not a fleet, so forget I said that. But it is an orb, a fiery red orb that I can't explain it. You have to see for yourself. Let's take a look. What is that? I don't know what it's doing now. It's basically kind of extinguished itself, but it flares back up. Here it comes. Wow. Amazing. So it's got this hot center core, like it's a mini sun or something. And all of these arms reaching out. What is that? Is that plasma? Electricity? What could that be? So is this, it looks like there's two, like nuclei, if I can say that. Two circular things in here. It's difficult to say. Wow, that's bright. So yeah, there's one, two, and then now they've separated. Wow. Okay, continuing on with the theme of fiery red orbs. This next clip is taken in Half Moon Bay, California, recently, a few weeks ago. This is bizarre. So there's a series of these fiery red orbs, and maybe about 4 or 5 of them, and they're all blinking in unison, in synchronization. And these blue, I think they're blue. I'm not good with colors, so forgive me. I'm slightly colorblind. But it looks like these blue or perhaps turquoise UAPs are dropped, like they're scouts, are dropped from these fiery orbs. You'll see. Let's take a look. What could that be? So these fiery orbs, they're all blinking in unison, like I mentioned before. So they're connected somehow. But what was that blue UAP? Oh, now it's coming back up. It's coming back to the, I guess, the mother orb? There's another one. And then the blue orbs just kind of get ingested into the red orbs. Ingested. Now they're moving. There's many of them. There's at least 5, maybe 6. Oh, they're not done yet. They're dropping more blue ones. Okay, they're not exactly in sync, but they're blinking in the same pattern, like a double blink, double flash. Bizarre. What could this be? Let me know in the comments. I can only imagine people watching this on the ground, what their reactions might be. Okay, moving right along. The next theme is organic bodies. So these next few clips have UAPs which have a kind of body form that almost looks like an animal. Octopus, squid, jellyfish, whatever you want to call it. You'll understand when you take a look. Okay, so this clip is a cloud, so it appears. But it's got like a form, a shape to it that looks like a jellyfish. And we have this object here that's descending from it. What could that be? But what's it doing? That is not a cloud. That's got a distinct shape and movement. What could that be? Now take a look at this structure over here. That almost looks like one of the ancient ruins in Thailand. If anybody knows what that is, please let me know in the comments. So in this next clip, we're going to transition themes from biologic jellyfish form into fake clips, or which I believe are fake. I don't know for sure, but I'll explain my reasons and hopefully you'll agree. But let's take a look. Okay, so there's our jellyfish flying through the air. I don't think this is a genuine UAP. I think this is a drone or a kite with long plastic streamers. I don't know what you would call those. But I don't think this is anything mysterious. Probably a kite. At first glance, it looks like it's pretty high up in the air with the clouds. But then we see a couple of birds fly by, like that one. So the camera shot is on the ground. And this thing, this object in the air, there goes another bird. This object in the air can't be too high up. I think it's a kite. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Interesting. This next clip sparked some controversy on the discussion forums, and it appears to be some kind of morphing, shape-shifting body. But I think if we watch it a little more closely, it could actually be a tent that's floating through the air. I don't want to agree with the majority of the group in the discussion forum that was saying that it was a tent, but after looking at it a few times, I found myself agreeing with them. I don't think this is a UAP, but I'll let you decide for yourself. Now, if this is a tent, it's huge. It's massive. But it could be a canopy for one of these, outdoor expandable tents that just got away with the wind. Now, that doesn't happen very often. Let's take a look again. That doesn't happen very often, but for it to get caught by the wind and hover like that and just stay there stationary in one fixed location is really unusual. But if you look at the way this thing is moving, it looks like it could be a tent that's kind of folding over onto itself. Let's take a look one more time. Yeah, what do you think? So that flying tent, pretty sure it's not a UAP, that it is some kind of man-made human object, a tent or a tarp or something that's flying through the air. But this next clip, this is definitely fake, and that's because we have confirmation by its creator. But take a look, it's pretty impressive. So here we have an orb that is accelerating into another dimension. So it just disappears and it leaves this vapor trail, or don't know what you want to call it. Take a look again. Half speed. So it starts to accelerate and then just vanishes and leaves behind a vapor trail, or perhaps sound barrier, trail, something like that. And then pop, spiral. So this was actually done by a CGI artist in Japan. And they created this because they saw something similar and wanted to recreate it. So this is what he did. But you can see how good the technology is, that this is a convincing clip. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that believe this is real. If it weren't for the artist who came forward and acknowledged that they created this, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would believe this. So most of these UAPs that are performing maneuvers that appear like they're defying the laws of physics, they're moving in ways that don't leave exhaust trails or vapor trails or some kind of air pressure deformities that are left behind, for example, by breaking the sound barrier, because these things don't interact with our physical atmosphere and environment. These things are interdimensional. So they just punch in and out of the dimensions at will. So here's an example of another ship that is taking off and accelerating, and it is instantaneous and it's unmistakable. Let's take a look. So over the years of watching clips of UAPs accelerating and taking off and performing maneuvers that seem like they're defying the laws of physics, you kind of develop a sense of how these things behave and the way they maneuver. And in this clip, which is taken a while ago from back in 1993, it is a pretty convincing clip. And from my experience in watching these clips, this thing accelerates in a way that to me is genuine, understanding their potential technology for how they warp the space-time continuum and are basically interdimensional vehicles. So take a look at this thing and how fast it can take off. It's gone. It's just, that's it. Let's look at that one more time. The acceleration is just instantaneous. Boom, gone. Bye-bye. Okay, here's another clip of a UAP accelerating, but this time, this one is fake. Or at least so I believe. It just seems a bit too artificial, and when we compare it to the clip that we just saw, it's not the same. So let's take a look. All right, the video's a bit fuzzy. Yeah, that seems to be a bit too animated for me. Yeah, that doesn't look real. And if we look at the ship, it's got way too much detail. Most UAPs are pretty featureless. They're pretty, have smooth surfaces. This looks too mechanical. This looks like this was drawn by somebody. And yeah, I don't buy it. Doesn't work for me. What do you think? Do you think it's real? Let me know in the comments. In this last batch of videos, the theme is the moon. And as always, I would like to suggest that you use your own intuitive discernment to decide if any of these videos that I've shown you today are authentic or not. So with that said, this next clip is pretty spectacular as it shows a UAP traveling at incredible speed and actually travels behind the moon. We lose sight of it for a very brief period of time, but it's traveling at such an incredible speed that it disappears behind one edge of the moon and then reappears a few seconds later on the other side of the moon. Let's take a look. Okay, so the video starts out zoomed out. Camera obviously has a telephoto lens that can zoom in pretty far. We want to look down in this region. This is where the UAP first appears. And then other UAPs also appear later. But we want to keep our attention on one particular UAP. Right now, it's difficult to see it, but the video will replay and they will highlight where the UAP is. So currently we don't see anything, but it's there. Okay, now they're going to show. Okay, can you see it? Right down here. Keep your eye on this object right here. Okay, now it stops. There's more UAPs just flying by. Now it's shifting direction, heading down towards the moon. And it disappears. And it reappears again. But we don't see it traveling in front of the moon. It disappears. Now it's changed direction and now it's flying out of it. We'll take a look again. This time a little closer. Okay, I thought it was this object at first, but it's not. There it is, right here. Keep your eye on that. Okay. Flying along, there goes another UAP, here comes another UAP and another, but now it stops, changes direction, and now starts to fly down towards the moon. But look, it passes behind the moon and it reappears again. What kind of speed is this thing traveling? And another UAP? Or that actually could be a satellite. Let's take one more look. So the UAP we're watching is right here. Okay, now it changes direction, heading down towards the moon, and then it disappears behind it. And then reappears, right there. And then it stops, and now it changes direction again. Amazing. What do you think that is? In this next moon clip, we have 3 massive black UAPs which appear to be above the surface of the moon. Now, it's difficult to tell exactly where they are For all we know, they could be closer to the Earth, perhaps within Earth's atmosphere, but this is pretty convincing. It looks like they're very close to the surface of the moon. Let's take a look. Okay, once again, we have another videographer with a zoom lens, telephoto lens. You could already see the three objects. There's one. And then there's two more up here. The other one is right here. They are massive. If we can see them this big, they must be like the size of the state of Texas. And they're covering the surface of the moon like they're just walking around. They must be moving at incredible speeds. Okay, so one object is here, one object is here, and the other one is up here. Okay, we get a closer shot this time. So you can clearly see the three UAPs right here. I mean, they're huge. In order for us to see them that clearly, they must be hundreds of miles wide. Okay, here comes the second one. Like I said, these objects could be closer to Earth than what it appears here. Amazing. This next clip, I believe, is a couple years old. I think I've seen it before, but I thought I'd include it because it's so relevant to our moon theme. Again, it's taken with a telephoto lens, and it's three massive objects above the moon surface. I wonder if it's any relation to the previous clip we just watched. Anyway, let's take a look. Zooming in. All right, we can see at least one object at the top. No, it's the three. They're just clustered together. But one is broken off and is now descending towards the surface. Now, its motion seems to be a bit jittery, a bit stop and go, but that could be the light refracting through the atmosphere of Earth. Let's take a look again. Okay, they're all kind of huddled together. Now they break apart. Again, these things must be massive. Incredible. Do you think these are related to the previous clip? Let me know in the comments. Our last moon clip isn't actually our own moon, but it is one of the moons of Saturn, Enceladus. These are not video clips, but they are photos taken of the moon, which showed unusual objects. Let's take a look. Before I start the video, I just want to point out that this was the original photo that was taken of Enceladus. Let's take a look what they find. So in these two locations where the red circles are, there are two objects. So now they've taken like an X-ray view, or I guess it's called a grayscale version of the image, and it reveals two objects. Again, these things are massive. These two remarkable objects were caught around Enceladus, which is the sixth largest moon of Saturn. Both objects appear elongated and are massive in scale. So long, flat, pancake-like. Possibly hundreds of miles in length. Incredible. Are these fake? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. Objects like this have been caught many times around Saturn's rings. What could that be? Incredible. Look how big that is. Thank you so much for sticking around and being with me. Take care and keep shining your light.